Yeah, I'm not sure you want to listen to this if you're an England cricket fan, or maybe it's going to help you get over what just happened. It was labelled in places like the Times as Bazball's worst ever day. India win the third test by 334 runs, nearly that many, to go 2-1 up. A statement for both sides. A statement of intent and brilliance from India, and a statement of what the hell was that from England. Can you guys sum it up?
Well, this will be the biggest test of sticking with the style, which they've done very well. And even when there's been slip-ups before, they've sort of shrugged it off and just, no, we're keeping this style. But this will be the biggest test of that because there's been a lot of blowback from home. And, I mean, the bizarre thing to me is that they've sort of done the hard part by embracing this new style of cricket, which I think we can all agree has been fantastic for the game and has changed the game. And it's been great. But their inability then to make adjustments, it's almost like this kind of arrogance of not being able to kind of accept that maybe some parts of it need to be fine-tuned. That's the part that I can't understand. And for Joe Root to think that he needs to be playing that sort of shot when he averages 50 in Test cricket long before Bazball was invented. It's to me it's bizarre because they've done the hard part in inventing this style, but they can't find that second and third gear. It always has to be fourth and fifth.
Now, Hads, you've been not a critic of Bazball. You're just confused about it. Are you even more confused now? You've got a bit of clarity about it's maybe verging on a bit of BS.
I think the confusion lies with their players. I think they've got caught up into what they think Bazball's like. I heard Ben Duckett, who got actually an unbelievable 150, a runnable 100, then came out after that and said, we've changed the way the game's played. The reason, who got the double 100? Jaiswal.
Jaiswal
got the double 100. He's got a couple of hundreds this series. The reason he's done so well is because of us. Come on.
Like they've invented quick scoring.
Yeah, it's like it's never happened before. And the one thing, I like what they're doing with Test cricket. I like the style of game. I like what Brendon McCullum's brought to the change room. But it's those little comments like, we're going to chase 600 down no matter what happens. You get bowled out for 100. It's the accountability piece around what's coming out of some of their players' mouths. So, like David Warner, Gilchrist, Seawag, they weren't entertainers of the game. It's nothing new what they're doing. All Brendon McCullum's done really well is freed their players up to play a game style that suits the athlete. Like for you to play a certain way to Ben, it's to give them the confidence to play they want. But at the moment, under pressure, that's not working for some of the players. And Joe Root's a perfect example of that.
Just about to say, which brings us to Joe Root and the shot he played in this test match and some of the shots and some of the ways he's getting out and basically his return is nowhere near what we know Joe Root can provide this cricket team. So has this intent stuffed him up?
Well, I don't think it stuffed him up. The thing, I'm looking at Joe Root, he did that reverse sweep or lap to Paddy Cummins a couple of times. And I remember sitting back at home and going, wow, that's a great shot. Everyone's smiling. Paddy's smiling. Joe Root's going. My point is, he doesn't need to. He's better than that. Joe Root. He's one of a generational players. So he's trying to get maximum result there of really, really high risk. Number 10 and 11 do that to try to get the game moving forward. Joe Root doesn't have to do that. He can beat them with class. And I think he maybe has got caught up in this Bazball style where he doesn't need to. He can be a batter that plays you on class, uses the crease deep. So I think he's a bit confused.
I wanted to run two theories by your Hads with Joe Root. Number one, it's complete selflessness, as in he's just buying into Bazball. You know, I don't care that I averaged 50 in Test cricket beforehand. I'm happy for my numbers to be hurt because I'm going all in for the team. If we're doing this, I want to be part of the team. That's theory number one. Theory number two, he was the captain before Ben Stokes and had a really tough time of it. Difficult time for English cricket. He got criticised a lot. Now Stokes has taken over and is a hero. Is there some element in Joe Root going, all right, you want to play this way? Okay, all right, we'll do it. And he's just almost slightly cynically just going, okay, you want me with my record to do this? All right, I'll do it. And I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, I reckon it's a good point because the first point you make is he's buying into everything. He's buying, okay, I'll play that way. I'd lost 16 and 1. His captaincy record before I think Stokes took over. So yes, he is doing the team thing. But the thing about the best thing for the team is for Joe Root to bat long periods of time. And it's not all like Ben Stokes doesn't score at 120 strike rate. He gets time to get in, and once he gets in, he's the one player that does have different gears. The guys like Duckett at the top and Crawley, they got one pace. And the thing about what McCullum's done well with them is they're not good enough yet to go different gears. Joe Root is. So I just think he needs to sit back and say, okay, yes, I'm all in with this, but the best way I can contribute to the team is to score big hundreds. And at the moment, he's probably not getting the runs that we expect from Joe Root.
Well, he didn't get the runs that we were fearful of in the Ashes. In this series, he's averaging 12.83. Now, overall, the numbers on Bazball pre and post, Joe Root's average has gone up by nearly 1 run from 49 to 50 pre and post Bazball. The much faster strike rate, 54 to 73, has a better 50 to 100 conversion rate. But the point is, I think the point you're trying to make is, Hads, he can sing like Adele, but he's trying to sing like James Hetfield. What's the point? Just sing like Adele. And yeah, you can do it maybe, but like you made your name doing it a certain way. Just keep doing that because you're one of the best to ever play the game that way.
Well, the one thing Joe Root has in his favour, Joe Root is one of the players that can play at different gears. So he's smart enough to say, okay, there's a Bazball component now. I've got to take the game on, and we need to drive the game a bit here because we want more time to bowl the opposition out. So, okay, then play that style. But there's also that time where you go, okay, I've got to take 2 steps back. I've got to get through this situation. I can still hit 4s and take the spinners on down the ground, but I'm going to take that really, really high-risk, low-percentage shot out of my game till I really need it to go forward. So I just think he's selling himself short. I just think he's a much better player than what we're seeing at the moment.
It'll be a remarkable turnaround if they come back, and I'm not putting it past them because they've got so many match winners in their lineup, England, and maybe they might get a couple of DRS verdicts go their way. Ben Stokes wants the umpires call gone after a few, I'd call them shaky ones in this Test match. Is that ever going to happen?
Well, I mean, he's certainly not the only one who thinks
you
that.
had it.
And
no, I'm with Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
Wow. I picked that quote out, producer Sam. Brad Haddin, I'm with Ben Stokes. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, well, I agree too. I mean, we saw one in the summer where I think it was Travis Head, and he went on to make 100. It was probably the difference in the first Test. And it was just, he survived on umpire's call. And it is just a confusing thing to basically have this kind of twilight zone where, you're out, but you're actually not out sort of thing. I mean, it's just confusing, and I think it would simplify it for everyone if they just backed in the technology. You either want to use it or you don't.
If you hit the stumps, you hit the stumps.
Yeah.
If you don't
You're
hit
out.
the stumps, you're not out.
Well,
so.
It makes the job a lot easier, and there's so much pressure on the umpires with all the cameras available. It takes so much pressure off them as well.
And because it affects their umpiring, doesn't it? Because if they're looking at something's marginal, they've got things in their minds like how many reviews and things like that. And it does. I reckon it does impact
100%.
on their decision making.
It is getting better, that technology. I saw a later version of it, and maybe the ICC and things like this are using it, but at the tennis recently, because they now just got rid of lines judges totally.
Amazing.
And their technology has got so much better and it's improving all the time. There's one of the tournaments in Japan, they've actually got this super, super, super slow-mo where you can actually see the compression of the ball when it's hitting the court. So you've got all this technology improving. I think as it improves, like you say, surely you can pick to the half millimetre where that ball is going to track and hit.
I never thought I'd get this forum, but just on the tennis, like when I was watching that, do you think it's taken something away from the game that you don't have players losing their, at umpires?
Definitely.
Like, I mean, to me, that was just a huge part of the theatre of the game.
Absolutely.
I think it's sad that it's gone in a way just for that reason.
The funniest is when you see the player want to blow up and then realise, I've got no one to blow up to here. I'll just pick out the usual punching bag, the ones in my own player's box. So anyway, just a real quick one. I saw on the High Performance podcast, Stuart Broad was quoted as saying about how positive they have to be with their language, especially to start the day, England, around Brendon McCullum and everything. He wants this radiance of positivity always around the squad. Like even if you're feeling like crap when you wake up, which I'd imagine Hadji can do after a long day, and then you get up the next day and you just feel like absolute garbage, you have to find something positive in your language. Like, oh, I just had the best coffee, guys. It was so good. So everyone is emanating this just rays of light at the start of the day. You have to be positive. That's what you no negative talk, because it brings the whole room down. What do you make of that?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because some people, that's just not natural. Some people take a bit longer to get going. And Stuart Broad actually spoke a lot of common sense there. This is twice. Hang on a minute. Starting to get dizzy. Well,
Can we get a medic?
he actually, oh gosh, I'm lost for words. But he actually said at the start he struggled with it. There'd be times he'd bowled 30 overs in the day. Takes a while to get going, and you got to be positive. And he said, "Oh gosh, what am I going to say? Oh, this coffee this morning is really, really nice." Just like it's a bit like Joe Root's batting, saying, "Okay, no, I'll buy into it. I'll buy into what you're doing, and I'm wholehearted in." So, to me, that's a bit fake, and it's a bit the same as Joe Root's batting. It's so, yes, you want to be positive, but there's also times in that just to say, just give me a moment, but. Yeah.
Isn't it easy to say if you are feeling like crap, just don't say anything, as opposed to trying to basically lie to yourself that everything or something is great. If you're feeling like crap, just keep it within.
The one part of Bazball that I really don't like is what you were raising before. And obviously, maybe when you're in that mindset of trying to be so positive, they just can't break themselves out of it. So it's all part of the act. But I don't like the arrogance of it when they're making public comments.
Yep.
And it's sort of just this air of, we have reinvented the wheel. Aren't we so fantastic? Whereas, just a bit of humility, a bit of modesty, because they have got the compliments they deserve. They've played amazing cricket. They've changed the game. They've made Test cricket so much better.
They haven't invented the sport.
But we don't need to hear it from them all the time.
Jaiswal, outstanding, as we mentioned, 214. We'll talk about India, by the way. They did win the Test match. Jadeja, who's one of my favourite cricketers, because he's he'd be a nightmare to face over there. Did you ever face him over there?
Yeah, not for long.
Yeah. I mean, with the bat, with the ball, pushed up the order because of a variety of reasons, and then he does what you expect with the ball. He just gives you nothing on those kind of pitches. Great cricketer. So, too good.
Against Australia, Jadeja has to be one of the best players of the last 10 years against Australia. Amazing.
Well, what I liked about it, he started at number 8. He batted at 5 in this Test match. India were in trouble. Wood was bowling with some serious gas at the start. Rohit Sharma played well as well, but he needed support. So they put him up to 5. He played outstanding. He played a different role to what we've seen in the past. He played a bit more batsmanship. He worked through the innings. So, he's going to go down or he's definitely a thorn in our side, Australia. But he's the total package, bats, bowls and fields.
I'm not sure Sarfaraz Khan is his biggest fan, though. I don't know if you saw the run out. So Jadeja's on 99. So he's obviously a bit jumpy, which is fair enough. And he just goes, yep. And then he went, no. And then poor old Sarfaraz was halfway down the wicket. He got his stumps thrown down.
It was a shocker. I mean, I'd kept the television on to see Jadeja make his 100 before I went and made dinner or something. It just was not happening. He just did not move in the 90s at all. And
late dinner.
It was a shame. Yeah.
Well, the hard thing also, there's been a lot spoken about Khan getting his Indian debut.
Yeah.
He's dominated first-class cricket like no other player over there. He's not the typical modern-day athlete. He gets a lot of runs. And you just had to see his cap presentation. Him and his father were in tears.
Yeah.
It was so emotional to finally get that moment. He was in control in his first Test. And for that to happen, oh, mate,
it's a classic example of just how strong Indian cricket are.
Yeah.
Like you see that guy play and go, how's this his first game for India?
So and he was trucking along to get a century in the second, and Rohit said, "No, that's enough, boys. Come in." Declare. I mean,
run out
to do that in your first Test is outstanding. What's the worst ever run out you saw, Hads?
Oh dear. I tell you the funniest one. In the end, it wasn't a run out. You remember this, Benny? Sri Lanka SCG. I think it was Senga, inside edge. I've quickly run. got my glove off and went to throw to the bowler's end. Shane Watson was bowling. And I seen Michael Clark run in from mid-off. So I've got it, stopped my throw and threw it in front of Michael so he could run into the stumps and run him out. But I had to lob Watto, and he wasn't quite back at the stumps that time, and he didn't see Michael coming in. So I've lobbed Watto. Watto's gone, oh, no, what have you done? Michael's caught it.
Yeah.
And remember, he's loaded up from a metre away from the stump and thrown it as hard as he could at the stumps. It hit Watto just below the knee. You must remember this.
Yeah.
And the noise from where I was like two bits of wood had hit together. Watto didn't flinch. They shared eye contact. Ricky Ponty was about 2 metres away just looking, going, what's just happened here? And Watto's walked back to his mark, got on with it. Michael's sort of standing there just with his hand over his mouth thinking, oh, this is embarrassing. There was no interaction, but the noise on Watto's shin was amazing. It was not out because he didn't hit the stumps. It hit Watto's leg, but the way he handled it.
Because there was always these stories about Shane Watson and Michael Clark who started playing cricket against each other from a very, very young age of being these great rivals.
Yeah.
And it carried on through.
Yeah.
So if that didn't manifest itself into some kind of aggro, it was obviously a fallacy, that story, because it sounds like that could have kicked off.
Oh, that could have kicked off
like
easily.
each other.
But the interesting, Watto doesn't get enough credit for it. Michael threw it as hard as he could from 2 metres away. He took it. The noise was horrible. He just looked at him, shook his head, and walked back.
What was said after?
Oh, it was one of those moments, where you come into the change room and you just look around, you're thinking, oh, we need a Bollinger or someone here just to bring it up because just to break the ice. It's one of those that normally breaks the ice about 3 cans in when you're in the change room after a win, but it wasn't good.
It was a classic. Watto and Simon Kadich had their fair share.
Yeah.
And there was one, wasn't there, at the MCG where they ended up just running to the same end and it was almost like a race. They're just stretching their bats out to see who could get across the line first.
Have you ever done anyone in that? You've ended up at the same thing. Oh, I'm there first. Sorry, you got to go. Or you always you're always the ultimate team man. You were happy to.
Mate, it depends on who you're batting with.
Yeah.
Like if you're about to get in a mix-up and you're with number 9 or someone, you think, I'm a better player than you. But then if you look at the other end, you think you got Ponting or Haddin, you think, oh no, I've got to run past them. So I'm the one that was out. So it was when you knew the pecking order really quick, when you each look at each other and said, okay, someone's got to make a decision. And if you're eyeball with Ponty and Haddin, Martin, you think, that's me.
Yeah, thanks for watching the Willow Talk podcast on YouTube. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't have to miss an episode wherever you are. And while you're at it, check out these videos up here. They're mostly good.